Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
I'm very cross with you, Strode.
What did I do now?
Well, you know, I've been enamoring our listeners with tales of my hips, leading to the inevitable hip watch. And then here I find you on social media start talking about how you're going to need surgery. I mean, seriously, you already are the brains and the control of this outfit. I mean, you know everything. If there's a comic fact you don't know, it's because your brain cell just hasn't come up and said, hey, I know it. I just haven't, accessed me in a few years. But if you're going to be doing the whole surgery shit, what exactly am I bringing to this show?
I've been saying that for 356 episodes. Never give me a straight line like that.
Finally found a niche. So now that I've
hello?
Who's that? Is that your doctor calling? Look, you got your phone ringing. That's my stick.
And it's too far away for me to grab, so.
Yeah, but it's a much more pleasant ringtone. Although I do like the Stone Cold opening. Well, okay, I pulled the cat out of the bag. I don't know if it's going to be a freaking, but let's tell the good folks why you're horning in on my surgery shit.
Well, I had the weekend off. I even took Friday off because I decided, hey, I have
deserve a break today.
Well, I was going to go up north.
Really? Oh, that's funny. I got to add that to my freaking.
But I've been trying to get in to see the eye doctor for like weeks. Just, I would call and, we don't have any openings for this, and we don't have any openings for that, and hold on.
Cory, why aren't you in to work? I'm telling you, folks, if I wasn't so lazy, I would just ditch this podcast and start my own. Geez, maybe I should call it Solo Joe. Yeah, let me Google that. Oh, shit, somebody else already has that name. Oh, well.
Work is calling.
Of course they are. Hey, we heard you're podcasting. Come on in.
Hey, we heard, how you've had some days off? Well, we got to stop that.
Yeah, enough of that shit. Shit, today's word is shit. A word used by, middle-class housewives everywhere.
So I have been trying to get into the eye doctor, and finally I just gave up on the eye doctor I've been going to for years and years and years because they just couldn't work me in. And I figure, well, if you don't want my money, somebody else will. So I went to the brand spanking new eye clinic here in Chaska.
Ooh,
and
Chaska, up-and-coming community.
It's getting bigger every day. Our Target now can sell booze. So I'm going to the eye doctor, and for Joe, you've seen my face. I have the sleepy eye thing like Robert Mitchum.
I thought it was just, your smoldering, disinterested look.
Well, that too. But for about, the last 8-9 years, they've been saying, well, your eyelid droop is getting worse. Duh. And eventually we're going to have to do something about that because it's going to start interfering with your vision. So when I go to the eye doctor this time, they say, well, we can correct your vision, but not up to 20/20. Can't do that anymore. And your eyelid droop has gotten so bad.
We may have to remove them, just like in the Shadow comic book.
Well, in the right eye, it's actually, they say it's, I can't see very well out of the right eye, and the left eye is doing okay. But they're going to have to do plastic surgery. Joe, I'm getting plastic surgery, and unlike most plastic surgery, this is going to be paid for by my medical insurance because it's a medical necessity.
So if I suddenly see you with man boobs, I'm going to know what happened. Oh, no. Wrong thing on the chart.
Now, if you suddenly see me, looking like the Undertaker. But they also found that I have the start of cataracts.
Oh. Those aren't as big a deal as they used to be.
Right.
It's kind of like the hip thing. They've got enough experience with those that, ideally, if they have to pull them out, yank, pull, shred, it'll work out fine.
But I do like that they said, well, when we do your eyelids, you're going to look like somebody beat you up.
Yeah, very true.
And then when we do the cataracts, we have to clamp your eyes open.
Oh,
I said, you probably don't want to tell me any more about that. But early next year, I am getting my eyes worked on. And who knows, maybe I'll be able to see that trees have individual leaves.
darn. Here I was just going to give you a big, folder full of paper and say, here's your Monster Society of Evil hardcover back, Cory.
But no, I'm the vision's not that good, and early next
I thought
year.
you said you liked Vision. Matter of fact, you had a letter published in it.
Why, yes, I did, but now mine isn't very good.
Oh,
So I'm horning in on your territory.
You've just been, alone in your compound a little too long.
Well, my mother said if I read those comic books, they'd eventually ruin my eyes.
That's not what I was alluding to, but we'll go with that.
But I this is my third day off.
Oh, well, I had to take a forced day off and we'll get to that when we get to freaking, because on the plus side, I got my box on, well, we actually talked about that on the last podcast, but I actually got to go into the box and not only look at the wonders it behold, but I did something I don't normally do. I usually I wait and I do the previews later, but I just was having a bad day, so I just whipped it out and went through it. Besides, they had that cartoon version of the 13th Doctor on it, and I'm like, oh, I'm so interested in that run.
So you want to talk previews, huh?
We can. I mean, we've talked about your eye, and I don't want to have every episode start out about my hip.
All right, let's see. Oh, look at this! Celebrate Walking Dead Day.
Have a seat. We're gonna talk. No.
Walking Dead has been around for 15 years.
Oh, does that mean wait? That's 2003.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 years later, I had Crazy Comics.
Right.
Oh, to go back in time and grab maybe, I don't know, a dozen of those issues, number one.
Christy didn't have them.
Of course not. Well, let's just take a look here.
Because she skipped mine.
Call up the old eBays. Walking Dead, number one, first print. Dun, dun, dun. All right, let's get to the comics. Oh, fudge. All right. Only 260 results. We'll just go highest first. And if you happen to have, this guy's got a whole collection, 1 to a 128 slabbed for $15,000. Let's see. There's a 9.8 slabbed for $5,000. That one actually, let me take a closer look. That one is signed by Robert Kirkman and Tony Moore. So you gotta, anytime you see that yellow, you know it's been signed. An unsigned one, they got a $3,500. And I'm gonna scan me down. I'm really, I mean, if you've got one and you're looking to sell it, it probably behooves you to slab it. I'm going to see if I can find, you go into the advanced search feature. Boy, this is like talking about my eBay right now. And let's back out CGC. So ideally, I can find a first print number one. And that's
$100 bajillion.
Well, we found a slabbed one for $5,000. So 500. And really, if you have one, you're probably going to slab it.
Yeah.
And I'm scanning down, took out CGC. Unfortunately, I put in first print. So let me go back. I'm using the advanced search, and I'll take a gamble. The only problem with doing Walking Dead 1 is you tend to get a lot of the reprints and the first editions. Okay, let's see. Oh, here's an interesting one. Walking Dead 115 BGX 8.6 signed by all the cast actors.
Ooh.
2,900 opening bid, 4,000 buy it now. Well, I guess there's a couple lots for 2,000. Here's a Walking Dead 1 high grade for about $2,000. So not a bad return on investment. That seems to be the higher one. And again, as you go on, here's a guy bidding on one. It's only a mere $710, Cory. You could get that just by going to work a few times. After that, they become Walking Dead Weekly, and even those have a little heat on them.
Oh yeah.
Again, most people ignored it because they either had it or they bought a graphic novel, and now, as fans keep coming in, they're like, "Hey, how about that?" So, not a bad little comic there. If you can find yourself back in 2003, and do a little investing.
So what are they going to be doing for Walking Dead Day? Is there an article on this?
I don't know, but it's October 13th, and as I read it,
they'll put out let's see. There will be a deluxe box set with all 3 compendium editions with exclusive covers, a box, a new issue of the comic. I imagine they're giving stores a lot of discounts. I will be interested to see what they do, because that's also when the series comes back, and the series is going to be very different from the TV show. I mean, the TV series is going to be very different from the comic, because they've already announced Andrew Lincoln is leaving, the actor who plays Carl is leaving. Well, he left. So
did they ever say if those guys get a kill fee?
They do not.
Oh, I always thought that would be something, especially if you're like, okay, we're going to kill off your character. Sorry.
It's funny because the way the actors talk about it on Talking Dead, they don't know.
Yeah, it's always a shock.
Unless, they're leaving the series, they get their script and it's like, oh, I die.
Well, I always figured
would
way
be
to
weird
do it
contractually.
Well, I imagine they must have a guarantee, you're going to pay me this much whether you kill me or not. But, again, I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear, and that's something that's probably too personal to ask the actor, but I'd be like, yeah, I'm real interested in how this works. Plus, if they're going to continue the series, where will they go, considering they've killed off everybody but Daryl? Because, if Daryl dies, we riot.
Daryl, who's not in the comic.
Nope.
Still hasn't been introduced in the comic. Probably never will be.
I hope he doesn't.
I wonder if for the actors, if it's a lot like being on Star Trek, where it's okay, if I don't get any acting jobs, I can always do conventions.
Well, yeah, that's a nice thing about that, and we talked in the past, was that young Erin Gray? She does that mostly for like 70s, 80s sci-fi actors. She kind of is their broker to get them to cons and things like that. So, and if I was an actor, hell yeah, get me on Star Trek, get me on Walking Dead, get me on any of this stuff. Even if I had just a memorable appearance, I could, hey, nothing going on. Let's go to a con or two or something, Sit there and sign photographs for $20.
Well, I remember the guy who played Hugh the Borg on Next Generation.
You are Hugh?
Hugh the Borg.
Third base. There, we brought in about 3 different references in one,
there you go.
One name. Yeah, that's the way we ride.
And that guy, he talked about how, I read an interview with him, and he said that he made close to $1 million at conventions, and he was on one episode of Star Trek. I think he
3.
had 3?
Yeah, he came back in one of the season's enders.
Okay.
Where the Borg were actually fast and moving like Klingons, and then they discover Lore found a bunch of Borg, experimented on them, created kind of a offshoot where Hugh was on one side leading a faction, and they were trying to get rid of. I think that was the last appearance of Lore in the TV show. But it was a season ender thing, so.
But man,
It started out.
he made a lot of money off that show.
Yeah.
Not from the show itself.
When he had such a memorable character. Even guys like when we went to the San Diego Comic-Con, I ran into the guy who there was that second season episode where Riker goes over to a Klingon ship, and he ends up befriending one of the Klingons. And that actor also was the bounty hunter on X-Files. To see him there, at the San Diego Comic-Con, and it was so cool to talk with him. And I said, "Oh, I love the Star Trek character." He goes, "Yeah, I wish they'd bring it back." I said, and that's the thing. Star Trek has a way of, they have a popular character and they never revisit or never bring you back. And it's really, I don't agree with that, because, damn, I'd like to see you in that role. So in the meantime, I had him sign a bounty hunter picture where he's got that large, sharp thing, and he jam it in the back of an alien, and then they disappear in green puddle of slime. And I had him autograph it to my wife. "Chris, don't worry, this won't hurt a bit." In the same room, I ran into Peter Matthews. I think that was Chewbacca, right? And
Peter Mayhew.
Mayhew, I'm sorry. And then Frank Gorshin was there, which surprised the living hell out of me. I mean, I had him sign me a picture of his role on Star Trek, and I was telling him, as a kid, this episode confounded me because I wasn't really aware of racism yet. It was like, and it just, to this day, it's just chilling to me. The fact that these two guys rather kill themselves than cooperate. And then it said, of course, I loved you as the Riddler.
Well, Previews is sitting in my lap right now.
Ooh.
By the way, the phone call was from one of the new staff saying, "I've been here for like 8 hours this week. I've been here for 16 hours this weekend, and I'm really tired, and I want to go home." And all I can say is, noob. You ain't lived till you've come into work at 6 in the evening, and stayed there till 6 in the evening the next day. Then I'll feel bad for you. But I'm
Tell them to start whining for some pie.
There you go.
Good work. Oh, so should we take it as Previews is presented?
Yes.
Which I actually absolutely love.
Image is in the front again.
There are 2 new series I'm kind of curious. I think I will check out. And usually that means I'll go through the first story arc. The first one...
Boy, that art on Blackbird looks really good.
That one I may wait on graphic novels because it looked good. The first one I'm looking at is the Exorcisters. It's basically a gist, and I'll just read it right out of the catalog because it's pretty good. "Did you sign a deal with the devil? Has your fiancé been dragged to hell? Then Kate, that's K and C, Harrow, should be the first ones you call for timely soul retrieval at a reasonable rate." But why are the identical twins so different? They give a piece of art on the page across from the description, and it's intriguing enough where I thought, you know what, I will give this one a quick run for I don't know, a couple first story arcs. See if it catches my fancy.
Also, the writer Ian Boothby, he's been writing the Simpsons comic for years.
and we talked about that. The last Simpson comics is in here.
Yeah.
So I ordered that too. On the very next page, and of course we're on page 52. Another
52!
Series. I know, but this has nothing to do with DC because we're an Image after all. Infinite Dark. Universe has ended, but the onboard void station Orpheus has a skeleton crew of humanity survived. The last 2,000 souls waiting for a second Big Bang that may never come. 2 years into their voyage, security director Diva Carell investigates the station's first murder. You know it's going to happen. And the otherworldly motives behind it. Again, the art looks good. I got to say, I can't quite read the printing because, as part of the whole diabetes things, my eyesight's changing too. So I gotta go into the doctor this week and have him, check my vision and everything.
Maybe they'll cut off your eyelids.
Actually, I was thinking of having made more like you, so you could be the Droopy Brothers. Or we can have a new podcast, the Surgery Sons. Sons of Surgery? No, I don't know.
The doctor asked me about my eyelids, and I said, I can't tell you how many times people have looked at me and thought I was a stoner because of my eyelids.
But a lovable stoner.
I can't. I waste my money on funny books, not pot.
The only other thing other than the regular series, I will probably pick out the Fade Out trade paperback.
Yes, I have that one marked.
Yeah, if you want to talk about it, because I've never read it, so I'm kind of, again, it's Ed Brubaker, which is a name again. I have, if I got the bucks, I will buy. He writes phone book, I will buy it.
And this is him and Sean Phillips doing another crime story. This one is set in 40s Hollywood.
Is this like this is a 1 to 12.
Yeah, this is the whole thing.
So that's what I love. I just want to buy the whole thing. I know I'm going to pick up Mage Volume 5 because I want to read it. But boy, when that Mage Omnibus comes out, I am so on it.
Well, I've got the hardcovers of 1 and 2, and I'm kind of shocked they didn't put those back in print. And I hope they do a hardcover of 3 so that they look nice together on my shelf. But Matt Wagner has not told me if they are doing that or not.
Tell him do that and an omnibus.
There you go. But nope, Image, nothing new jumped out at me. Their new series, I just wait for the trade paperback. I wait and see how the reviews are. Because that first trade paperback is usually $9.99, which means it's $5 through DCB service. So, and I pretty much pick them up as trades anyway. And that's who I am. Dark Horse.
Pretty much the same things I talked about last month. Stranger Things, MST 3000, She Could Fly, and The Seeds. Whatever the corresponding issues are. But nothing new. Nothing new popped out at me.
They are doing a reprint of P. Craig Russell's Ring of the Nibelung, which is one of his adaptations of a opera. And this is Wagner's Ring story, which Roy Thomas jammed into Thor, leading up to Thor 300. So it's, hey, we're going to have the Celestials in the Marvel Universe, and we're going to jam the Ring story into the Marvel Universe.
Woo-hoo.
Then in the late 80s, early 90s, Roy Thomas and Gil Kane did another adaptation at DC, and P. Craig Russell's adaptation is beautiful. I love P. Craig Russell's art. Believe it or not, I knew very little about opera other than what I saw in Looney Tunes cartoons until P. Craig Russell started adapting operas to comics. I still have a lot of trouble sitting and listening to an opera because it's in a foreign language and etc., etc. But P. Craig Russell's art is absolutely beautiful. There is a final... Well, the Conan Reader, I want to point that out. This is a nearly 700-page book for $30, and it's a bunch of the one-shots and mini-series from Dark Horse's version of Conan. And again, if you're looking to read the Dark Horse Conan stuff, you're going to want to pick it up from Dark Horse for 2 reasons. 1, it's going to be cheaper, and 2, the creators are going to get some royalties from it. Because when it goes over to Marvel, Marvel will reprint them as part of their Epic line. But the creators don't get any royalties. So, all of the stuff that they're reprinting from Dark Horse in the Epic line now, none of those creators get any royalties. And they're a little pissy about it, as they should be. And there was one other, Vault of Horror, Archive Vault of Horror Volume 5 is the last of the Vault of Horror reprints. So that finishes up the Vault of Horror line. And Dark Horse is pretty much near the end of reprinting all the EC stuff. So hopefully they keep it in print, because these are some of the best comics ever printed. I was talking with someone about, well, we were talking about when WWE brought back ECW and why it didn't work. And there have been times where people have tried to bring back the EC line. Dark Horse tried with Harvey Kurtzman to do Two-Fisted Tales again, and there were only a couple issues and it faded out. Paper Cuts tried to do a new Tales from the Crypt, and it didn't work. And I think it's because really the only people who were able to kind of recreate EC were Warren, and it's because Warren had the original artists, and it was much closer, but they also weren't trying to recreate EC in that these aren't Tales from the Crypts. It's creepy, it's eerie, it's different, but it's going to kind of grab that same thing. And, you know, you and I have talked about how CrossGen died. Marvel tried to bring it back and nobody cared. Milestone they actually tried to bring back before, and it flopped. And I think when you try to bring back something like an entire line of books, it's really hard to get anybody to care. You know, how many times have they tried to bring back the Thunder Agents? And no one cares. It's hard to do it, but man, those EC books are amazing. Next in the previews, Joe, is DC.
DC.
So I have to go and I have to grab the big DC.
I do like the DC previews. I do like the fact that they have their own now.
Yeah.
Let's see what I got. Well,
and they're pushing another crossover.
Yeah.
Although it's Wonder Woman in the Justice League, which isn't she already in the Justice League?
I thought so.
I thought so too.
I gotta kind of watch it here. I'm dropping my beverages. How would you say, condensing, and it's tripping all over my list here.
By the way, Joe, they give foil covers.
Foil.
How long till we get chromium and prismatic and embossed and
gold? The only
glow in the dark. We need some glow in the dark covers.
The next two books in the Sandman universe are out: Books of Magic and Lucifer. These are on the. Well, I gotta try them and see if they're any good. So I'd be curious to see how that goes. I have a note that says something about Superman Black, but now I can't find it.
Well, there's Superman Blank.
That's what it was. Blank. It's not black. See, it's where the liquid dropped. Because what I'm doing, you talked about the Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing with Supergirl. Although it'd be funny to do it with Spider-Girl. And I'm almost out of Supergirl comics, so I'm thinking I might as well pick up some, if I can afford to get some Superman #1 blank covers, because they're offering.
Now these aren't blank covers; these are blank comics.
Oh, really? The whole comic?
Yes.
Oh, see, sometimes I should read these things, and I just.
It's
that might be interesting.
They're doing Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. They're for 24-hour comic book day, and they say they're 16 pages, which is 24-hour comic day. You're supposed to do a 24-page comic, and the interior uses the same stock as the cover. And while I don't think a lot of people will use this for 24-hour comic book day, which should I tell people what 24-hour comic book day is?
We have talked about it, but it's good to remind people, especially some of the new listeners.
24-hour comic book day is they pick a day every year, and the artists and creators who sign up for it are going to create a 24-page comic in a single day. They have 24 hours to do the entire comic, and it's a lot like NaNoWriMo, which is where in the month of November you sign up and you're going to write a 50,000-word novel. There's also one for playwrights where they write a play in a single day. I don't know what it's called, but there are a lot of these different, let's do something creative in a limited amount of time. There's even one where you write a novel over Labor Day weekend. And I'm sorry, writing a novel in 3 days, that's just crazy. It takes 30 days to write a novel. Come on.
That's crazy talk.
But these are being made for 24-hour comic book day. But I could see people buying them instead.
Excuse my grunts. My hip is killing. As I try to settle in for the podcast, the hip's like, no, I don't want to sit this way. How about this way? Ah!
I could see people buying these to get, okay, I'll get Batman sketches, I'll get Superman sketches, I'll get Wonder Woman sketches. I could see using it that way, but for 24-hour comic book day, the paper's not good, it's smaller than most people draw, and again, it's only 16 pages, so...
And you mentioned earlier, enhanced foil covers. There are certain issues with DC Comics that they are doing, they're calling it DC Icon Month, and certain comics will have enhanced foil covers with limited, how do you say it, palette artwork?
Yes.
Action, Batgirl, Batman, Catwoman, Green Arrow, the normal suspects.
Pretty much anything that gets 2 books a month, I think.
So if you're really keen on that, pick up a DC Previews and let your comic guy know about these. Usually when we didn't get many of these when I had the comic shops, but for the most part, people would buy the they wanted the gimmicky cover, and then there were a few people that didn't, and they would let me know ahead of time, which was nice. So then I didn't order an extra one, and I always tried to get both on the shelves so people could pick and choose. I didn't see. Is there a difference in the price?
No.
Okay, that makes it easier.
Which is kind of crazy, really, if you think about it.
Maybe economy of scale just makes it easier to keep it that way.
Well, that and pretty much all the
was.
DCs have jumped up to $3.99.
Yeah. Well, and they were, and when I had the stores, it was always like, okay, you can have the enhanced cover for $1 more, or the regular one for $1 less. So,
I always took the $1 less.
Yeah, you were easy. So, other than that, there are no graphic novels I'm interested in.
I wanted to point out something a little odd. Remember how we talked about the new DC Black?
Yeah.
All-Star Superman has been retroactively put into DC Black. Kind of like how Alan Moore's Swamp Thing was retroactively put into Vertigo. There's a lot of different lines from DC, man. It's almost like, you're a new creator? Here, have your own comic line. All-Star Superman is now part of the DC Black line, so it's been retroactively made part of that, much like how Swamp Thing was made retroactively part of Vertigo when they reprinted it. Let's see, I am interested in the Hush Omnibus.
Are we recording?
Yes, we're recording.
Okay. Always take a double check.
I am interested in the Hush Omnibus. I have not decided if I'm getting it or not.
So I have the Absolute.
Well, this is more than just the Jim Lee stuff. This is also the Paul Dini stuff that came after that.
I don't know if I care enough to buy it.
1,240 pages.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with the Hush saga the way it is.
I also, Mr. Miracle by Tom King and Mitch Gerards. Buy this. This is good stuff. This is the good stuff. I'm buying it even though I don't know how it ends. I don't care. I want it. I want it. And there is also a Wonder Woman by Phil Jimenez omnibus. And I will have to go back because I love Phil Jimenez's art. He draws very much like George Perez, and I don't understand why he's not working in comics all the goddamn time. Marvel, hire this guy. Hire this guy. but I've only seen him on DC, and he only does runs, and then he goes away for a while. So I don't know, really don't know what the issue is, but I remember loving the art on this, but I will have to go back and see if I like the story well enough to buy the omnibus of it. And that was it for me over at DC. Although, ooh, that Batman Black and White by Klaus Janson statue looks really nice.
Yeah, put that on your desk at work and see how long you... He's freaking us out.
No, it was a staff member who didn't much care for me.
Yeah.
And one of these days I will tell the whole story of that mess. So after DC, what do we got? IDW.
IDW. For me, it's the same stuff. The Star Trek Transformer crossover in the animated style. Part 6 of the Transformers Unicron. I just read 1, and they did a pretty good job of bringing me up to date, even though I haven't read Transformers in 13 years. And this is kind of the... well, this is what they said. This is all leading up to 13 years, and, you know... Batman Max number 2. Invaders. I could be quiet. This is for Christmas. I'll get the girls the Invader Zim dice game.
Oh.
So I did want to point out something that confused me. I noticed Batman Damned wasn't in this month. And it was in last month. So I don't know if that's a bi-monthly or they canceled it to do it later.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything.
You just don't. And that's the type of stuff that drives me crazy because there's so many times, you know, by next month will I remember, I should have ordered Batman Damned 2, assuming it's there. Or, I just don't know.
Joe, are you going to be getting the artist edition of Bloom County?
I would like to, but no, don't have the money.
And let's see, that was it for me. There wasn't anything from Dark Horse IDW that I don't normally get. That brings us to Marvel.
Oh no, Dynamite.
In my previews, next is Marvel. And then
I have Dynamite. Well, Dynamite, we could do Dynamite because that's easy.
Okay.
Battlestar Galactica 0, just because it's classic. Everything else, although I'm interested in it, I will probably wait and pick it up as a graphic novel. That includes Lone Rangers, Mars Attacks, Miss Fury.
Yep, they're doing another Mars Attacks series. That's, what, like 4 publishers it's been at?
Yeah.
Who's doing Miss Fury? Oh, Bill Tucci.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's no more She coming out ever. Of course, the last time we had a new She was, what, I don't know, 10 years ago?
I don't remember. It's been a long time.
I'm trying to see if there's anything here I am interested in from Dynamite. I did not see anything that I was interested in. Nope, there is nothing here I am jumping on. Although the Art Adams Red Sonja sculpture's nice.
Yes.
Because, Art Adams art. Art Adams art!
Adam. Very hot.
Now can we do Marvel?
I don't know. What if?
Bunch of what ifs. Whole bunch of what ifs.
Yeah, there's not only new what if stories, but they're doing the True Believers with a bunch of really cool ones. And this is the first time in a long time. I think I'm just going to get every single one. Because there's some that I haven't read in the True Believers. There's other ones that I know I don't have. And because I know, I've probably blown them out years ago. And then of all the what if stories, the only one that caught my attention was What If Spider-Man #1. And I'm trying to find, of course, Marvel does not believe in the fucking alphabet to put their shit in alphabetical order. Yeah, let's just put Weapon H, and there's Iron Man, and Venom. Yeah, Venom. We got to put Venom in there, too. Here we go.
We got What If Magic, X-Men, Thor.
Oh, Jerry Conway's doing What If Spider-Man #1.
Yeah.
The idea of what Flash Thompson was him, which I believe was done already as a what if. But anytime Gary Conway wants to write some Spider-Man, I'll pick it up.
And boy, that Ghost Rider, whoever did that painting, they really liked Mad Max Fury Road, didn't they?
Well, yeah, that's kind of the funny thing about him having a car. It's kind of the ongoing joke.
But the True Believers Month, I like that it's, well, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of them are from the original run.
Yeah. And I think they have already done the first one in a previous True Believers that had, what if Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four, which as a kid, oh my gosh, that blew my mind. It took me forever to find a copy of that. And it was such a mind-blowing thing that I started picking up What If and pretty much ran the original run. Of the True Believer months, the one that's actually kind of interesting, I think there's the What If Avengers fought evil during the 1950s, which I think was reconned into regular continuity.
Yep, that one's regular continuity. What if Jane Foster, she's been Thor. Yep. What if Dr. Doom had been a hero? He's been a hero.
I like What If Fantastic Four had not gained their superpowers, which is done by John Byrne.
Yeah, that was actually a really good Byrne story.
Tony Isabella did a What If Spider-Man had rescued Gwen Stacy. Oh, wait, did he do that one?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a really good story, and really, of all the Spider-Verses they've visited, I don't know why they haven't come back to this one. And Tony says he does have another story if they do decide to revisit it. And again, the ones I haven't read is What If Craven Had Killed Spider-Man? What was the name? Was it The Last Hunt or The Deadly Hunt?
Yes, The Last Hunt.
And of course, What If Legion Had Killed Magneto? That was the beginning of Age of Apocalypse. Silver Surfer possessed the Infinity Gauntlet. Geez, I wonder where they got that from. And the other one, I think it was just kind of a fun mismatch. What if the Fantastic Four had different powers? So, yeah, I don't have any of these, and for $1 a piece, I'm just gonna grand slam and pick them all up.
I'm really excited about Spider-Geddon because I love the Spider-Verse story, and this is a sequel to it, with, of course, a half-ton of tie-ins because, yeah, they have to.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm ignoring it. I'll either wait for the omnibus or, like I did with what was that goofy crossover Nazi Captain everybody freaked about?
Secret Empire.
Yeah, I read the book. It was actually pretty good. There is one title that I kind of like. I don't know. I want to pick it up, but I'm gonna. Superior Octopus.
Yes.
And really, I still love that Superior run of Spider-Man because for the most part, Octopus did a pretty good job. And I like that the current series of Spider-Man's dealing with you copied this from Dr. Octopus, and you're like, what a jaw-dropping moment. No new series. Most of them are ones we talked about last month, for me anyways.
One of the things that they've got here, they've got, let's see, a Jessica Jones trade paperback that it says first time in print. A Luke Cage paperback that says first time in print.
Is that the new stuff that Bendis did before he left?
No, it's not Bendis. So I'm wondering if these were digital exclusives somewhere, because I don't remember ever seeing them. There's a Spidey School's Out. And these are, 96 page, 136 page trade paperbacks, $14.99 each. All new story. So I want to know where they're from. I need to dig a little into that. I'm wondering if they were originally digital and now they're putting them in print. Extermination is shaping up to be a lot bigger than we thought it was, Joe, because Marvel just announced that the series after this X-Men Disassembled.
Huh. Well, about friggin' time they kind of, with the current run of X-Men, I kind of went like 6 issues, and then I was like, I'm checking out. Mainly because there's still too many X-Men titles. You're kind of like, where am I going to jump in? Gold, blue, red, fuchsia, magenta.
And the other thing was, during the heyday of the X-Men, you had the one, Uncanny X-Men. And then when they brought in adjectiveless X-Men, it's like, okay, these are the two big ones.
Well, even New Mutants was exciting. It kind of
but
led
it was
the
to the
storyline.
side.
And even when they did miniseries, because it was like, okay, well, Wolverine's going off for a while. And, in other words, the miniseries came out of the main series. So it almost compelled you to buy it because you're like, well, what's going on?
But you also knew what the main series was. And
Yeah,
I think one of the problems they have is, okay, here's 4 X-Men books. Well, which one is the main book? They all are. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah, got it. $12, $3.99, $16 a month. So, well, that gets my attention because I will probably jump on board for that. I mean, after all, I'm still picking up Return of Wolverine.
I actually want someone to go through, and how many times have they tried to reboot the X-Men in the last 10 years?
Yeah.
Back in the trade paperbacks and other stuff.
Are you getting the Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel omnibus?
I probably am.
Yeah, that one I will pick up. A lot of material that I don't have in my collection.
And it's gathering all of it up from everywhere.
Yeah, which I appreciate. I like that. And, of course, the second of 3 Jim Starlin books, Thanos Infinity Conflict hardcover, is coming out this month.
Drawn by Alan Davis, who's amazing.
Yeah, so I think this is number
2.
There's only 3, yeah. And
although it's number 5 altogether.
I haven't been checking online, but I know, as far as I know, Starlin never got his comp copies of the first one. So, yeah, they're really kind of doubling down on just shitting on him, aren't they?
Domino Volume 1. I'm going to point this out because I read the first couple issues. And I'm not, Domino's one of those characters is like, okay, she's one of the Rob Liefeld people with a gun. But Gail Simone's doing a really good job on it. I really like this book. And the art is beautiful. The art is just beautiful. So, very excited about that one. Can't wait to pick that one up. Chip Zdarsky is no longer going to be doing Peter Parker, which is sad because I liked his run on that.
Yeah, the main run is so bloody serious, and nice to have a lighter, tone, even though there is serious stuff going on. And
there are 4 trade paperbacks are going to be put out for the Spider-Verse movie. I started looking at them, and it's like, it's just kind of a sampler. So these are made for basically bookstores, because what was it? Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The first one reprints Amazing Spider-Man 20 and 197, Spectacular Spider-Man 139, Ultimate Spider-Man number 1 and 11. It's like, okay, those are for the general market. And the 2 Epic collections are actually really cool this month. The first is the Hulk, which reprints right after he got his own book, after Tales to Astonish was turned into the Hulk. So you've got Stan Lee, Marie Severin, Herb Trimpe, but it's also when Stan kind of handed the book off, first to Gary Friedrich and then to Roy Thomas. But the X-Men book, X-Men collection, The Sentinels Live, this is the one Jim Steranko, Barry Windsor-Smith, and Neil Adams. So it's got that wonderful, wonderful Neil Adams, Roy Thomas run in it. So if you've never read those, pick those up, because those are some of the best comics around, man. Oh, I love those. And that was really it for Marvel for me. It was a light month for DC and Marvel.
Yeah, which drives me crazy because the next month it'll be so big, I'll be like, oh, I can't afford it.
Well, next month is you're ordering books for what, November?
Yeah.
You're either ordering books for November or December, so they're gearing up for your Christmas sales.
And the best thing is, at that time, I will probably not even open my box. I'll just prop my, new hip up on it and just relax.
I may not be able to see.
Yeah, boy, this is going to be a real interesting podcast. How you doing, Cory? Shit, I just tried to sit. Who said that?
Well, yesterday I couldn't see. Everything was blurry till around 7. So what did I do? Well, I threw in a couple of DVDs and just listened to the commentary.
Boy, you're never going to get a date.
No, I'm not.
Boom! If anything. One thing in Boom, I moved to Los Angeles to work in animation. Original graphic novel by Natal Nouragat. I'm intrigued by it. The art style looked good. I'm real curious. It's only $9.99, so it's not that expensive. Last time I read a book on animation like that was Guy DeLizzi. I can't even say it. I should. I watch MASH enough. Pyongyang.
Pyongyang.
Thank you. Journey to North Korea, which is a black and white graphic novel by a Canadian. He was working for a French animation company, and they were doing the animation at the Scientific Education Korea studio, outsourcing it. And it was real interesting because, first of all, I'm fascinated by North Korea, and it was interesting just to see his take of living there, being working in animation. This one, again, she moved to Los Angeles to work in animation. Well, you kind of took away the gist in the title, but you're just looking across on page 223 of some of the artwork, and you just see on the bottom, she takes a telephone call as she's stepping out of the shower. Oh my God, I got the job! So this ought to be kind of curious. Just see how it runs, and I'm sure once I've read it in the way down the road, it'll be something one of our all review episodes. I imagine I'll pull it out. So that one I'm recommending. And anything for you?
Planet of the Apes Omnibus reprints the 13-issue series and a bunch of one-shots. 512 pages for $40. If you're a Planet of the Apes fan, this is probably a pretty good way to pick it up. I find it interesting that they're doing another Planet of the Apes series while they're saying, the Planet of the Apes trade paperbacks aren't selling well, so do an omnibus, get it out there, and squeeze the last few drops of blood out of the fans.
Oh, because that's a property that Disney picked up from Fox.
Yeah.
So they might not have the license much longer for that.
Although, if you go to IDW, what's their big thing that they're pushing? Star Wars Tales from Vader's Castle.
Yeah. Again, Disney is very good about revenue streams, and just, it's been very apparent that Marvel is not going to have every single Disney property. Otherwise, they'd be having they'd be publishing Donald Duck or Walt Disney Stories, Uncle Scrooge. You've even noticed they've kind of scaled back on the adaptations of this is the Haunted House graphic novel, or 4-part series. So apparently, we just want Marvel superheroes from Marvel, nothing else.
Well,
we're a fickle lot.
Yeah, which doesn't surprise me. Marvel pretty much, if it's not superheroes, shops aren't going to order it. But no, there wasn't anything that jumped out at me about Boom. Sorry. The Garfield stuff I buy in trade paperbacks if it's by Mark Evanier.
Oh, yeah. Got to stick with Mark. He knows his cats.
Well, and I don't care what Mark Evanier writes. It's going to be entertaining. I am not a Garfield fan. Never much cared for the character. But Mark Evanier makes Garfield entertaining.
I got to say that the early Garfields before Jim got it perfect and corporized it, those are actually pretty entertaining. So if you can ever find early reprints of them, It's kind of like the same thing with BC. The early runs before he got too religious, early Dennis the Menace when he was more of a menace and not just precocious. Those early runs are actually kind of fun. And they're hard to find.
Well,
I mean, I lucked out.
Fantagraphics reprinted a bunch of the. I think they went through all of the 50s and early 60s of Dennis the Menace, and then sales just weren't that great, so they stopped. But man, those Fantagraphics Dennis the Menace books are really nice. They're a little bigger than the original strips, but they're just the almost like big little books. And just as good as the Peanuts, and every strip in order. Love me some Fantagraphics. Now we get to everybody else.
Run.
I always point out the name of the new Cerebus comic, League of Extraordinary Cerebi.
Run. No, right across from it. Run.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah. This is again John Lewis's tale of his fight in the civil rights. The hardcover version. I have the 3-pack slipcase edition. So as long as they're all hardcovers, I'm going to be sticking with the hardcovers. My goal, of course, is to one day run into him and have him autograph it. But that I have no idea when I'll be in Washington D.C. again. So run. I like history.
Let's see, what else have we got here? I didn't get a chance to go through a lot of this because I was unable to read anything yesterday. So I know with Archie, I went to the Archie section, and there is one more issue of Archie by Mark Waid. It's Archie 699. Let's see here. There is nothing more entertaining than listening to pages flip.
Well, while you're page punching, I will recommend there's one in Antarctic Press that I'm looking to pick up. It's called Punchline #1. I just thought it was kind of interesting. Bill Wilhelm is doing the writing, Matthew Whedon doing the art. Mel was a cloaked superpower representative of a superhuman group entrusted with protecting all mankind. After being forced to retire, Mel meets Jessie, who agrees to take her place as a costume heroine. Mel becomes a mentor to New Cape in town as Jessie joyously engages the role of superhero, meeting other super types and beyond. And that sounds interesting. I thought I'd give it a try.
The other thing at Archie, Marvel Comics Digest number 9. Number 9.
Oh, number 9.
Spotlights the X-Men and Wolverine. And
He's
then
coming
in their
back in a big way.
And in their trade paperbacks, they've got two that are interesting. The first one is the Betty and Veronica Friends Forever storybook. Oh, wait, no, that's just a regular issue. I thought they were doing a trade paperback where they were going to reprint all of those stories. Where it was a run they did before the the new look Archie, where they took the Archie characters and put them in Wizard of Oz and stuff like that. But I guess this is just a single issue. But they're also starting a reprint of Archie and Me, and I just got the reprint of there's a Sabrina book, and there's another book. The
Sabrina book was awesome.
Does Joe know?
Why do you always say no to me?
Who is the me in Archie and Me?
Mr. Weatherby.
That's right.
These are all stories.
These are all stories told from Mr. Weatherby's perspective.
Oh, wow.
And it was a series that started in the 60s. So if you want to read some classic Archie 60s stories, again, they're reprinting them in order. What was the one they just did? Because it showed up in my box. Ooh. Give me a second here.
Did you mention Archie?
The Betty and Veronica Spectacular just came out. And it reprints stories from the early 90s. But it's every issue. So it's like, here's issue 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to issue 11.
So it is spectacular.
Yeah.
Did you mention Archie $6.99 is only $1?
I did not mention that it was only $1.
So for you cheap guys who want to just catch up on the saga before issue 700, it's only $1. Jeez, you probably got that spare change in the couch.
Ooh, Blizzard is reprinting their stuff. My son will be very happy about that. He's been reading the Blizzard comics and the Blizzard novels. Big World of Warcraft and Diablo fan. Me, not so much. I like Diablo, but I don't give enough of a damn about it.
Do you know, if you put time in your title, more than likely I will buy it. So if you go to Beyond Reality Media on page 299, the time traveling tourist. I'll just read it right from it because it says Beethoven Jones travels time and space doing exactly what every tourist does, taking selfies. That changes when he meets Rebecca and tastes the best donuts in history. However, it's never easy falling in love with a time traveler. So that it just sounds like it's kind of interesting. And like I said, you want me to buy? I mean, you saw me when we were digging through the Paperbook Tomb over at Dreamhaven. If I saw time on it, I just picked it up. Don't care what it is. I'll look at it. There is a book across from it. I wish I had the money to buy from Becker and Meyer Books. It's one of those coffee table books for $35. It's Saturday Morning, a look back at 4 decades of animation, pop culture, and tradition. You know, because I'll go through these books and go like, oh yeah, I watched that. Then I'll go like, I don't remember that. It must have been after my time of Saturday morning TV watching. Maybe I'll luck out and find it on the remainder rack at Barnes & Noble.
Probably. For me, I jump ahead to Fantagraphics. We got Pogo, the complete syndicated comic strips.
Oh, nice.
Hardcover. Pogo is one of those strips. It's just amazing. And I remember reading some trade paperback, well, not trade paperbacks, some little paperbacks as a kid and liking it. But I always heard how brilliant it was. And then when they started doing the Fantagraphic books, it's like, oh, I'll buy the first one. Give it a try. It's so good. It's so, so good. The other thing I want to point out is there is a book toward the bottom called the Crumb Compendium. It's $30. It is a comprehensive guide to everything Crumb has published during his decades-long career in cartooning. So if you are a R. Crumb fan, this lists everything he's ever done. Now, I like Crumb. I'm not going to say I'm a huge fan. I did buy the complete Crumb when Fantagraphics was putting it out because he's an important cartoonist. Things about his work still bother me. And as we get further into the Me Too movement, it bothers me a lot more. But his work is very important. And if you're a Crumb fan, this is probably one of the more important books they're ever going to put out about R. Crumb. Because one of the things about the Undergrounds was, it wasn't like you'd go to the comic shop and go, oh, okay, new issue of blah, blah, blah's out. It would be, oh, this is out. Is there any R. Crumb in it? No, okay, no, it's this guy. Oh, there's R. Crumb in this. So this kind of helps in if you're looking to find all that stuff. Kind of surprised that Fantagraphics hasn't been producing new complete Crumb. But who knows? Maybe they just they weren't selling toward the end. Hard to know.
I don't know if you got anything beforehand, but I'm going to jump to Source Point Press on page 400. Miniseries called Ogre. And again, it's a feature item, so it probably caught my attention more than anything else, but then I kind of read it. A reclusive beast sits locked in a castle prison cell with the ghost of the corpse he is chained to, and now he must decide if he'll join in on an escape plan that could set him on an adventure he's not prepared to embark upon. So 3-issue series. You know, I'm a sucker for a miniseries at a small press. I mean, especially, like I said, it's only 3 issues, and I'm more likely to pick it up and give it a shot. I'll wait till all 3 are out, of course. But
Well, there's a lot of cop cars driving by.
Well, I reported you. I'm sorry.
Well, they're going up on the Hilltop Road. They're not by me. So
It's not my fault they pass right by you. Let me call
you
them
did a
back.
terrible job.
Hang on. What do you? Go ahead. Tell me your next book. I gotta call these guys back. Hey, you went past the exit. Then I said under the pickle factory. Not.
There's a new issue of Knights of the Dinner Table, of course.
Oh yeah. I lucked out. I got 2 in my box, which was just like candy. I mean, I just absolutely love it. We've raved about this series on and on. You know, if you're a gamer, it's something you should be picking up. I don't game as much as I used to. I do like reading through the different gaming stuff, but just the storyline is so awesome. I mean, if I thought Jolly could pull off an entire issue of just these guys, I would love it. Because, you know, it works on different levels. You know, first of all, they're sitting around playing the game, the narrative of the game, and then, of course, the personal relationship between everybody and how they're reacting to stuff. And it jumps from gaming group to gaming group, different storylines. What they are doing is some of the better storylines they're putting out in books. They have at least 3 out. It was like Saga of the Bag World, Cattlepunk Chronicles. I think this month, the second Cattlepunk Chronicles comes out. And then there's also Men in Hack, I think, Men in Black. Now, if you go to their website, which I believe is Kenzer, I don't know, Kenzer. Hang on a second. I'll Google it. But if you go to their website, you can not only take a look at some of the daily comics they publish to give it a try, but also you could probably download the entire series for pretty decent price, because they do very good with digital stuff. It's www.kenzerco.com. So it's Kenzer, KENZERCO for company. And, they have a Facebook group. They have a lot of back issues you can pick up. If you want to check out the first issue, it's either in print via their reprints, or it's available digitally. So it's definitely worth checking out.
For me, it's kind of a big jump till we get to Quirk Books. On page 387, there is basically, these are the books that have come out already, but they're highlighting them here because, they must have paid for it. But there are 3 books. I've got them all. They're a lot of fun. The first is the League of Regrettable Superheroes, which reprints some of the goofiest, dumbest Golden Age heroes. The Legion of Regrettable Supervillains. And then the Legion of Regrettable Sidekicks. And I'll read a little about that. Batman has Robin, Captain America has Bucky, and Yankee Doodle had Dandy. Being a superhero is hard work, which is why so many comic characters rely on a sidekick for help. But not every superhero achieves the glory of Batman, not every sidekick are as capable as the Boy Wonder. These are just fun if you have a good sense of humor and you don't mind the fact that these are some pretty crude Golden Age books. They're good for a laugh, and much like how I like a good old bad movie from the 50s. It's entertainment. You're not going to read it and go, wow, that was great. You're going to read it and go, wow, this is really terrible.
Although I don't want anybody bad-mouthing the Eye. Or you may need him later, so don't be bad-mouthing the Eye.
And then, really, for me, there's not a lot until I get to, what is it here?
Titan?
Yep, Titan.
Again, I'm going to probably get the photo cover of Doctor Who #1, just because I've been picking up photo covers of all the Doctors in some hope, if they ever do tour, and the other Doctors have toured, come to one of these cons. It would be fun to catch up with the current Doctor and get her signature.
Let's see what I had that jumped out at me. The Tank Girl stuff, as always. Love the Tank Girl stuff. There is a new Elric series. The second issue is available. looking to see. They don't have any novels listed this time, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah, because usually you mention the novels and I'll write them down just to give it a shot.
Back in Starburns Comics, which is the comic line put together by Dan Harmon, who created, Community and Rick and Morty. I'm keeping my eye on these because I want to read more about them, because the samples I read were kind of mixed. But Patton Oswalt is doing a comic called Comics Quarterly. And comedians love comic books, cartoonists love comedy, so it's comedians and cartoonists teaming up to do comic books. So, probably going to pick that up. And then we get to where a lot of my money goes.
Which is?
Tomorrow's.
Yeah.
Back issue, they're going to be celebrating the 40th anniversary of Superman the Motion Picture. And really, everything else is just restocks. If you have not read Alter Ego 153, please pick that up. It's a tribute issue to Flo Steinberg, who she was the receptionist at Marvel during the 60s. She was the one who wrote responses to fans. She was the one who made sure that the trains ran on time. Very much beloved in the world of comics. She went out west after Martin Goodman didn't give her a $5 an hour raise. No, $5 a week raise in the 60s. She went out west, came back, got into underground comic publishing, and then came back to Marvel to work in the proofreading department in the 90s. And kind of became Marvel's grandmother. She would kind of take the new people under her wing and show them the ropes, especially the younger editors, because they would hire people out of college or from other book publishers who didn't have a lot of experience, because Marvel doesn't pay a whole lot. So you're not going to get the head of Random House and their editors showing up at Marvel. So she would bring them in and show them the ropes and teach them the history, and was very much a beloved figure. And this issue of Alter Ego, normally when I read Alter Ego, it's like, oh, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. As I'm reading this, I felt a profound sense of loss of her passing, because she has as much history as Stan Lee, as Jack Kirby, as Steve Ditko, when it comes to Marvel kind of becoming a major force. Just, if you haven't read it, go out, pick that issue up. You're going to get a lot of Marvel history, and you're going to get to know an amazing woman who probably there's no way will ever get all of the accolades she deserves for all the work she did behind the scenes. Anything else, Joe?
No, not really. Nothing in the toys or anything else. I mean, there's always something, but, I gotta kind of budget myself.
I feel bad that I don't pick up the manga, but manga moves so fast that I don't know that world much anymore. So basically, I read manga so late that it's, oh, well, there it is in the used section. Oh, that looks interesting. I'll try that.
Yeah, I look through it, if I can see something. There's a few series that I like to follow, but they're published so infrequently. I just want to make sure I don't miss them. But, again, if there's somebody out there, who's your friend who knows
Lyndon?
the manga? Yeah, if Lyndon ever wants to jump in, talk about manga, maybe that'd be someone to have him on the podcast while I'm recuperating.
I try.
Oh, now you can beg, borrow, steal. Say, oh God, Joe's out of commission for 4 weeks. I need your help.
Let's see. I am actually looking for some Funkos, Joe.
You want a good arse face, huh?
No, they're doing Rush.
Oh.
In their 70s outfits. So, which unbelievably regrettable outfits that Rush toured wearing during the 70s, where
I
it's,
know
oh, look, there's Alex Lifeson in a kimono.
McFarlane used to have that line where he would do rock figures. That would have been fun to see a realistic one like that.
And both Marvel and DC are putting out tiki glasses.
I always find it interesting when I'm looking at some of this stuff because it's like, would these be things that I would be looking to pick up in my shop? And more likely in the big store I would have, because, I always had, displays of just stuff people would look at. I mean, we sold a ton of shot glasses, pint glasses, lighters. I didn't do the lighter fluid because you needed to have permits for that. Just anything that had Marvel or DC on it. We sold ties. That was when Marvel was discounting all the crap they put their figures on. So we'd pick up ties and hats and T-shirts and what do you call them? Not ties, polos, belt buckles. Just fun stuff. Pens. People would look at them and go, "Oh, that's kind of cool. I'll pick that up." So now it's just fun to look through to just see what kind of things they're getting into. I mean, tons. It's interesting because a lot of the plastic figurines, the vinyl figurines, especially the imports, wow, they jumped up in price. Just the price of plastic from when I had my shop in the 90s to now. Statues are always interesting to see, which ones would I carry. It's not just the Marvel line anymore, but DC has their line and their imports. Do I need another figure of Godzilla? So it's always fun just to look at it.
Well, you know whose prices aren't going up, Joe?
Oh, I love a good bargain. Whose?
These guys, our sponsors. That's right, here at the Solitaire Rose Radio Network, we have ads, and our first sponsor is me. That's right, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. I have my first book out with Dangerous Dan Moore. It's the first 100 strips of our online web strip, Worldwide News, the story of the lowest rated cable news network. And you can get yourself a copy with commentary, with all sorts of extras, with signatures and everything. Just email Dan over at lordshadowflame@gmail.com. Our top sponsor, who's been with us since day one, is DreamHost. DreamHost.com. You need yourself a website, and DreamHost.com is the #1 web host in the whole known universe. Just head over to DreamHost.com, put in the code KRAYZ, KRAYZ, get $20 off your first year. How can you beat that? Our other sponsor is Graze, GRAZE.com. Healthy snacks for a healthy lifestyle. Just head over to Graze, put in the code CORYS3R5P. Your first and fifth box are free. You can get them weekly. You can get them bi-weekly. You can get them monthly. You just order a whole bunch of them. It's great stuff to keep you away from the vending machine at work. Now, if you would like to leave a comment for any of the podcasts that we do, we'd love those. Go ahead and email us at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com, or you can call 952-856-0519. Operators are standing by. Okay, it's just a place that we'll record your calls, but we'll play them on the air. We'll answer your questions. We love getting feedback. Tell us what you think. Ask a question. Suggest a topic. Be a guest. Send us your stuff. SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. If you would like to advertise on any of the Solitaire Rose radio shows, you can. Just email us at SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. Subject advertising. Thanks. And now that we've finished up with our sponsors, we get to, we do tons of other podcasts. Tons. We're going to fill up all of your time. And when my eyes go bad, all I'll be able to do is talk. So, boy, you are going to get buried.
You won't know if the recording's working.
So that'll make it even more interesting. It'll be like a podcast roulette.
Although by then, we've been told that Skype's going to force an update on us. So we're frantically preparing for that, because one day we're going to go and like, oh, they updated. Snots.
Well, let's hope that they do what they say they're going to do, and Skype will have its own recording capability. But,
nice.
Before that happens...
Confidence is low.
The Solitaire Rose Radio Network has all sorts of podcasts. We've got Scrabbling Across the West with Dave Caffell and his lovely bride Stephanie. They travel across the country playing musical gigs, and at night they sit down to play Scrabble and talk about their day at scrabbling.solitairerose.com. There's Novelcast over at novels.solitairerose.com, where I take the novels that I've written and turn them into audio podcasts. Currently, we are doing a novel called Do the Job, which is a murder mystery set in the world of 1980s professional wrestling. Then, over at badadvice.solitairerose.com, me, Cory Strode, and Wolfie B. Bad, along with Dan Moore, give bad advice to people who send in questions. That's bad advice over at badadvice.solitairerose.com. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network is growing. Be there! You think NBC will get mad I used that? And now we get to Joe's favorite part of the show.
Oh, finally, my hip operation. Oh.
No. It's what's going on the eBays.
eBay's still chugging away. Some of the things that I've sold, I always tell you don't throw away your giveaways, because I had a couple Archie and Friends, a Halloween Tale giveaway from 1998. I must have had this because they had my store stamp on the back. Granted, a non-stamped copy would be worth more, but in this case, I just happen to have a couple of them and sold them. Avenging Spider-Man, number 6, signed in silver by Mark Waid. This was one of those discounted books I got from Dynamic Forces. Why they only had Mark sign 10 of them, go figure. But, I had and I sold it. Lady Death, Unholy Ruins, retail adventure variant. That's from Coffin. If you get some rare Lady Death ones, they seem to sell pretty good. That and Red Sonja's, the retailer variants. If you happen to see them just sitting on the shelf, snap them up if you're an eBay guy, because you'll tend to do it. I don't know if we've ever talked about it, but we probably have. I sold a copy of Genesis, which was a original graphic novel from Image. I don't have the date on it, but basically it's a trippy journey of creation and destruction. One man discovers he has the ability to manifest anything by thinking of it, only to learn that with seemingly unlimited power comes unstoppable terror. And let's see if I can find the creators on this. Nathan Edmondson, Allison Sampson, Jason Wordy. And I don't have a date. Oh, I'm sorry. I do have a date. 2014 is when this came out, so it may still be available. It may not. Can't get it from me. But what you can get is if you run over to the eBays and look under Crazy, Krayz, and see what kind of fun stuff I have. I'm actually repricing some things when I can actually sit up right at the freaking computer. I don't know what I'll be doing when I finally get to my hip surgery, if I'll just have to close the store or shut it down for a while. In the meantime, though, I'm trying to clear this stuff out. So if you see something you like, send me an offer. Let me know you're part of this show audience. What do we call them? The crazy universe?
Sure, that works.
Yeah, why not? We'll make up something later. If you're crazy, let us... What? Nerds? Geeks? Well, no. Nerds are smart. Geeks?
Fanboys.
I think it'd have to be geeks. Fanboys, but they're fangirls too. So I'd go with geeks because that way, I was a geek too, but when I had the retail store, I was a level up one. I had other geeks giving me money. Same thing on the eBays. So Krayz, go back to Cory's website. He graciously puts a link there. Just go find me on your own. Like I said, as soon as we're done here, I'll be relisting a bunch of stuff. If the pain level stays low, and trust me, it's not, I'll try to put some new things on this week, but you never know what you'll find. Cory's going to give me some stuff to put on, if I can figure out where the hell I put it. Probably in the trunk of a car I sold. Don't worry about it. Probably.
And now we get to my favorite part of the show. No, not where I try to trick the plastic surgeon into making me look good. It's Freaking and Geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on?
All right, hip watch. I've alluded to it. I've been talking a lot about the right hip. Oh my fucking Lord, pardon me, the left hip has just died on me. Just like it feels like it was back in June. It doesn't matter what I do, it's in pain. And it happened fast. I mean, I went to work yesterday and it was a sit-down portion of the job, but then by the end of the day, my hip had just locked up. I mean, I did try to get up and walk, but, this is not where walking is helpful. I mean, this is bone on bone. I got it on both sides. The cortisone shot on the right side still holding. Please, somebody, pray to God, sacrifice a pie, do whatever you can. I just want to make it to November. I got to call back the doctor because I had to pass on the second shot on my left hip because my blood sugar was too high. Well, and of course, the freaking comedy errors, I canceled Thursday. Friday, my blood sugar started to drop. They actually seem to be in the normal range, so I'm very happy about that. But then, now I got to call them on Monday. Every time I call them, it's like, oh, well, we can get you in September. No, I got to get this done in the next 2 weeks. I have to have it done before the operation. So hopefully I can get through to the doctor involved, and he'll, come on in. I said, hey, I'll come now if he's available. So I was telling Cory at the beginning, I'm going off zero sleep, which is weird because usually Cory does that. But, I sat down, I iced it, I heated it, I took the painkillers. Nothing. I watched some TV, usually watch the news, I happen to have a couple of Whose Lines Is It Anyways? So I finished up at about 2 a.m., went to sleep. No, I didn't. 4 a.m., I finally woke up I got up and just said, fuck it, I'm going to watch TV. And I'll talk about the stuff I watch when we get to geeking because it was kind of fun. Work side, oh my God, we're dropping like flies. My supervisor injured his back. I've got another friend. He usually, when he's gone, that means something's with his wife. Yesterday, again, I was in the sit-down position, but my colleague was not. They had one supervisor for 4 screening areas, and they basically just said, well, we're going to run this one, and they got hammered. Just ugly. Cory brought up a painful memory about going up north, which is funny because this weekend, my wife, my sister, my brother, they're all up north. This is normally the cousins' weekend where we go up north and we just hang at my cousin's cabin. It wasn't planned for this year. I don't know, just kind of, I think they were getting tired of everybody. Like, well, I can't. Well, everybody did. Well, except me, because A, I can't get off work, and B, I'm glad I didn't, because if this had happened to me up north, I'd have been frickin' miserable. So I was alone today, which is fine. Actually called up Cory a day early and said, hey, let's get this here podcast done. So we don't have this, we got to shut up and go because I got to go to work in like 2 minutes. I finally read one of the Walmart comic books we've been raving on about, and I didn't like it. I guess mainly because it's really not for me. I'm assuming these are just things to hook in other people, but for the price, I'm not coming back in 30 days to pick it up again. Part of it is because, like we mentioned earlier, these stories will come out in trades eventually. And while I enjoyed the Superman story, I enjoyed looking at the Terrific, all the other ones. It's all be back in 30 days, and I'm like, not at $5 a pop, not for 4. I don't know, Cory. I don't know if you've read the other ones. Are they all that way?
I have, and to me, they feel very, very rushed. And it's interesting because these were announced like 2 weeks before they started hitting stores. And I have not heard if the second issues have shown up yet. I'm actually on eBay right now to see if they have, and I'm not seeing issue number 2.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they were like, the deal got cut, and it's okay, get something out, because the Bendis Batman won't be till issue 3. The Tom King Superman won't be till issue 3. I
wonder if
think that they were
off
trying to get this out.
I wonder if they've been better off just doing done in ones, or if the whole idea is we want people coming in month after month to pick them up. But like I said, if these are not necessarily aimed at me, and for the price, I don't want to. I feel I'm not going to pick them up every month. I mean, there's plenty of stuff in the previews, as you can attest to this past episode. And if they are going to put them in trades, I mean, I will pick them up. I will be able to pick them up later. So, but that's pretty much it for freaking. How about you, Mr. Strode? What you freaking on?
I don't have a lot to freak on. I did not work Thursday night, so for the past 3 days, I have pretty much woken up whenever I felt like it. Saturday, I had to get up early because I had to go get my eyes done, and that almost shot the whole day. But it was still nice because once I got home, I did some meditation, I did some cleaning. I couldn't read or I couldn't watch TV, but after I got a lot of that done, it's like, oh, I've got all these Criterion Blu-ray DVDs. I'll just put in and listen to the commentaries. So I listened to both commentaries for Night of the Living Dead. And they were both recorded in '94 because George Romero's not with us anymore. But listening to these commentaries, they were having so much fun talking about these movies. And that's what I like about commentary when they're telling stories, and in some of them they were like, oh, I remember this. We had to go back and reshoot this. Or, well, Joe, you've seen Night of the Living Dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
That basement, every one of the basement scenes were actually done in the building they owned. They weren't done in the house because the house's basement was only about 8 feet and had a dirt floor, and they couldn't use it for shooting. So all of the basement stuff was done in a different building, and they talked about how, in their head it made sense, but then as they watched the movie later, it's like, yeah, the house layout doesn't work. But they couldn't reshoot anything because the house had already been torn down. But the freaking is that I don't get a lot of time like this. So, it's Sunday, and I'm like, oh my God, there was so much stuff I wanted to get done, and I didn't get it done, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And because I thought I had to work this morning, I threw out all my plans for Saturday night, and then by the time I was able to see, oh, wait, I could have went and done stuff. So, it's a weird kind of freaking, but I'm just kind of freaking on the fact that I don't get to have days off all that often. And I'm really looking forward to an October when I will have every weekend off. Joe, what are you geeking on?
Well, I talked about the things that I did watch. I mean, I have a DVR that is like maybe 20% left on it. Actually, it was about 13 before I started. So I just started at the old stuff and went forward. The first thing I watched was a hour-long program on Orson Welles' War of the Worlds and how it baffled and panicked quite a few people around that time. If you don't know the story, he was adapting War of the Worlds for radio, and Orson Welles, being as brilliant as he was, they decided to do it in the form of breaking news. So if you did not catch the very beginning of the program, as most people are wont to do, because again, people were channel surfing just like we channel surf today. You were probably listening to Edgar Bergman and Charlie McCarthy on one channel. When they finish, you're flipping over, and then you get to CBS, and it's like, oh, this sounds interesting. And it was just a normal program. And then we break in to bring us news, blah blah blah, and people fell for it. Police were calling in. What was funny, of course, was the people afterwards. Oh, I can't believe we got to bring charges to this guy. He was doing something bad, blah blah blah. And Orson Welles played it beautifully by being kind of contrite, but people who knew him said he was just loving the publicity. And of course, Cory, what was the next thing he did?
Well, he continued with Mercury Theater. He did The Shadow. But the next big thing that he did was he got hired by RKO Studios to do movies.
And he went to Hollywood.
His first movie, Citizen Kane, just was basically the Mercury Theater movie. And still one of the most brilliant films ever made. So many innovations, so many different ways of showing a movie. If you ever want to understand why film buffs and critics and scholars will say that Citizen Kane is the best movie ever made. Pick up the DVD with Roger Ebert's commentary, where he walks you through why this movie was so special and how it changed how movies were made.
My favorite, of course, was when we were walking through Costco and, hey, look, Citizen Kane. I never saw it. And you went, what? And bought it for me right on the spot. And I did watch it, and it was phenomenal. Of course, thanks to Charles Schultz, I knew who Rosebud was. Probably would have been more fun had I not. But, it was still pretty outstanding. So that was the first one. The second one I watched was Idaho Natural Wonders. They're talking about most of the national monuments and reserves that most of the time they're the first time these Congress had placed these out there, and there's quite a lot out there. As I usually do during nature programs, I got some blissful sleep. So I was able to fall asleep for about 40 minutes. Usually I fall, as I'm watching these, I'll like slumber off and then get back, rewind, slumber off. This time I just let myself go. So I got a little bit of sleep. I did save it so I can rewatch it, but it was just, the pictures were so beautiful. I mean, it was what I needed to relax. Third thing I saw was a 1 hour program on British railroad history, talking pretty much about how the steam locomotive went in 50 years from just a little thing pulling wood and coal to actually revitalizing Britain. And of course, with that, they were able to do, export it to Argentina and take the cattle industry, which up until then was just, they would be gutting the cattle for their hides and letting the carcasses die. At the same time, refrigeration was born, and suddenly they would get this stuff and they cut it up and send it to Britain. Over and over, they had that history to get to the point where none of the food you'd be eating in Britain was made in Britain, because they just had their empire. And of course, Argentina was kind of a British territory without being a British territory, which is probably why they're so sore about each other over the Falkland War. Eventually, they talk about World War I and how it helped bring troops to the front. And of course, they talk about where the troops left to board the ships to go over. And he said a lot of them, this was the last time they ever saw Britain. Into World War II, especially things I've talked about before, how Hitler was a master at using the railroad to move troops and that around. And then, of course, for a shiny new dime, Cory, what was the downfall of not only British railroading, but quite possibly railroading here in America?
Cars.
Oh, he wins the dime. Yep, that pretty much did it. A lot of the stuff, they were showing some of the steam stock that survived, including one that had the world record for fastest steam engine, I think 126 miles an hour. And they pushed it because the Nazis had pushed theirs to like 123.5 miles an hour, and they had the record. So that's a record that still stands today. So, and then I watched a concert from a group called the Tenors. Cory, have you heard of these gentlemen before?
Yes, the Three Tenors.
Nope. That's what I thought it was when I recorded it. No, there's a group called the Tenors. It's formerly known as the Canadian Tenors, a vocal group, consisting of Victor, forget it. I'm not going to try the last name. Victor, Fraser, Clinton, and there's a fifth one. And they perform. This was their Under One Sky special that PBS had them do for pledge break, obviously, because it was like an hour and a half, and by the time you fast forward with the pledge break, it's over. And they do basically classical. One of them did an amazing cover of something, George Harrison Beatle one, and it was just amazing. Just to listen to these guys. I mean, I used to sing tenor back when I could. People would usually say sing 10 or 11 miles away. I used to do solos. Solo, they couldn't hear me. But and then apparently I recorded this back in December, and they were touring here. They were up at Mystic Lake Casino, and I'd have gone and seen them if I know them, but they're still a group. They're still going around. They just had a new one released in October 2017 called Christmas Together, and it's available CDs and downloads. And apparently there's a little bit of controversy there because one of the guys, it was 4 guys, but it's down to 3 now because one of the gentlemen, apparently Ray Chimio Pereira, was singing "Own Canada," and he included the phrase "All Lives Matter" and held up a sign that wasn't necessarily appreciated at a 2016 Major League Baseball game.
Oh,
although with all the football bullshit, maybe they've forgiven him and brought him back. I don't know, but fantastic singing. I mean, the women in the audience, you could just tell they were enthralled. They sang a song, and the women were crying. At least the older women. They're just amazing singers and just a lot of fun. So it was a fun concert that I got to watch. Reading wise, yesterday while at work, I actually pulled out a lot of comics to read. Some of the more mentionable ones, I just the Century #2, Action Comics 1001. I'm actually getting into them, so maybe they'll stay on the list. Another Doomsday Clock, which was phenomenally phenomenal. Another Peter Parker, which we've talked about. A couple more of the beginning series, like Iron Man, Doctor Strange. I had 3 issues of the Immortal Hulk. Oh my Lord, I love it. And then I was able to read the Infinity Wars. It ended up with the Infinity Countdown, the Prime, and then the new series. And while I didn't necessarily like the Countdown, the new series Infinity Wars was actually really good. And you want to pick up the Prime if you're going to jump into it because they tie into each other pretty good. I had 3 issues of Justice League, and whereas the first 2 issues were confusing as heck, after reading 3 in a row, I'm really on board with this. It's some of it is things, they refer to the miniseries that came between Dark Metal and the Justice League series per se. I think it was No Justice. So I may have to go out and pick that up in book form or give it a try. I did read copy of Life of Captain Marvel. I enjoyed it, I guess. This strikes me as something that might be more fun in a graphic novel format. And I wonder how much of this stuff is things that we knew already or just things that they are shoveling in just to flesh out her backstory and make her more interesting. Even though I find her interesting the way she was. I mean, good Lord, I'm buying an omnibus of her. Whoops. So, let's see. Now, one more time. Let's ask the Strode.
no.
Okay, Cory, what do all these things have in common? Norm Peterson, the Fonz, Sulu, Chekhov, Bela Lugosi's Dracula, I Dream of Jeannie, Facts of Life, Star Trek Mirror Universe, and Ralph Melf.
Well, I know that they're all secondary characters on TV series. So, second bananas, sidekicks? Sidekick?
Let's go with Mego action figures.
Oh, wow, I did not know that.
I know, I saw them at Target. I was there back when I was walking because I one of the geekings I was going to complain about last week was that I missed the Infinity War release. Well, it was the digital release. The actual CD comes out, and it will, DVD will be out by the time this here podcast drops, and I will have it in my greedy little hands. But as I was walking around, I ran across a Fonzie Mego doll, and I thought, this is so cool. And then it was on an end case in the toy aisle, and I looked through all these things. The I Dream of Jeannie and the Star Trek Mirror Universe were actual like triangle sets that you could buy. And it was funny because one of the late night things I did a couple nights ago is I watched the Star Trek universe on Netflix. So, and I tell you, Huro is hot. I don't care. However she wears that outfit. And then I just kind of flipped through and started looking at them. I said, they had Facts of Life figures. They had Norm Peterson from Cheers, Ralph Melf, And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't need to buy more figures like this. But I may go back and the Fonz. I've got a Fonz Ego doll sitting right behind me, but it'd be cool to have one, and the Norm Peterson, and I may pick up that Star Trek Mirror Universe. If you're looking for a collectible that will probably appreciate in value, I would definitely recommend picking these up because I cannot see mom and dad buying them for their kids. They're squarely aimed at guys like me, and once they disappear, they're probably just going to go up in price because, how often are you going to see a Norm Peterson figure? Maybe I'll get that for Pat. I know he's a big Cheers fan.
Norm!
So, that was kind of fun. Cory, what you geeking on? What got you hopping and happy?
Well, to be honest, the fact that my vision is going to improve early next year makes me very happy because for the longest time, my distance vision is poor. And I knew that there was something wrong with my eyes because when I go to a movie, when I leave the movie, my eyes are exhausted. So that's why I always take about 5-10 minutes to relax before I get behind the wheel of the car because it's like, okay, things are kind of blurry. I got to wait till they clear up. Trees will have leaves again, etc., etc. And because we've caught everything early, it's not going to be that big a deal. And, the first time I heard cataracts, it's like, oh my God. But the eye doctor was like, no. You're thinking cataracts from 30 years ago. Now it's real easy. We've got this. You'll be recovered within a week or so. It's like, okay. Having 3 days off has been wonderful. It has been absolutely wonderful. I've done it as kind of a mental reset. I cleaned out the fridge. I cleaned out this. I got all my laundry done. On my birthday, I went up and I got myself a pizza and a cherry pie, and I sat and watched movies. I watched the entire 2-season run of the Santa Clarita Diet on Netflix. Have you heard about that, Joe?
No.
It's Timothy Olyphant and Drew Barrymore. Something has happened and Drew Barrymore becomes a zombie. And they have to basically cover it up. But she has to kill people, so they have to first are they going to kill, they're going to only kill bad people. But then they have to figure out how to cover it up because next to them is a member of the sheriff's office on one side of their house and a cop on the other side of their house. It's a sitcom with zombies. The mythology has grown. It's from the same creator as one of my favorite short-run series called Better Off Ted. And I guess he got his start writing for Alf, which oddly I never cared for Alf. I know him.
Ha!
But I enjoyed that. I finally watched Thor Ragnarok, which was incredibly well done. A lot of fun. I liked it a lot. It was one of those where after it was done, it was like, I want to watch it again. No, I'll watch something else. But really, I've just kind of been hanging around and relaxing in the house. This is the first time I've had an extended conversation out loud since Thursday afternoon. And I don't want to go back to work. And this afternoon, I was going to work on mixing podcasts, and Joe said, no, let's record one. So now I have to mix a podcast after recording this one. Maybe I'll just mix them both and I'll have all next weekend where I don't even have to turn on the computer.
Woohoo! Well, maybe not. If I'm hurting, I'll call you on Sunday.
Okay.
God, I hope I can get that cortisone shot.
Well, believe it or not, kids, you have listened to us blather on about comic books for an hour and a half.
Neat.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
You don't get heaven or hell. Do you know the only reward you get for being Batman? You get to be Batman. Neil Gaiman, Batman, whatever happened to the Cape Crusader? Hit my music.